Jó. Megyek kamerázni, jó? Here you go.
You didn't want to let me in. Can we start?
Yeah, sure.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here in Slovakia for the GT Sprint of Sunday. So it is here, and we are on the grid before the race number 2 of the weekend of the penultimate round of the 2023 ESET Cup Series. And we are actually making our way towards the back because we have already had interviews with the guys from the top classes yesterday, but we also saw wonderful fights in the GTC class. And yesterday it was the matter of Mechanic Motorsport, but this time this man said no, I am going to change that. And it's Denis Vašek, of course. Denis Vašek, who decided that it's enough having Mechanic Motorsport guys on top, and he said, I'm going to take the pole position away from you. What can you do in the race?
Yeah, with the new tires, the car works great. The deficit on the aerodynamics of the older Evo cars is gone. But during the race, it will be tough. They will push me. I will try to stay at this position, and we'll see.
It's even hotter than yesterday. Does that change anything?
I guess the tires, the tire management will be more important this time. But yeah, we'll see. It's a long race in this heat with no AC, so we'll see.
Okay, have a good one.
Thank you.
Denis Vašek on pole position. Let's just make our way a little further back through the class, because we've also got Mechanic Motorsport guys here, but not the man himself. So we have to make our way a little further through the grid. This is the car of Matěj Pavlíček, but he's not in the car yet. We have him here on the grid. So let's actually try and have a couple of words, if we may, with Matěj. Matěj and Josef Záruba together with him. Yesterday a victory for you, but today you are starting third in your class. You've got your main rivals in front of you, and it's even hotter than yesterday. What can you do?
Well, it's not ideal, but we're going to do what we can. I think it's going to be a very interesting start with all the GT3s. I think the GTC class is going to be tough to get through, but yeah, we'll make it happen.
What definitely speaks for you was that the weekend didn't start the best for you, but then you turned it around yesterday. Is that something that gives you a bit more comfort? You can turn it around once again?
I think so, hopefully, yeah.
Okay, good stuff. I'm going to try and talk to your colleague, see what he has to say. And the last man we will try to have a couple of words with is, of course, Joachim Galáš. Joachim Galáš coming here as the championship leader in the GTC, but through lots of different events and occasions and actually conditions, your lead in the championship is not as big as it once was, but you're still hungry and you definitely have the pace. So what can you do in the race?
Well, I mean, I think I learned my lesson from yesterday, and I know I have what it takes, to just be the fastest. I have to, if I cover the start and make one position at the start and then keep it, I think I'll be able to pull away even. But we'll see.
You very nearly had your teammate yesterday, maybe if it wasn't for that slight mistake on the second to last lap. But today you may be going to be even more aggressive, maybe even more hungry?
We will see.
We will see. Okay, great stuff. That's your GTC fight for you, and we're really looking forward to that as much as in the other classes. It's going to be a brilliant sprint here in this incredible heat in Slovakia. So let's just go and enjoy it.
Szerintem most a grid fölött, és akkor én maradok egy ilyen... Jó, rányitok. Gyere.
Zostaň na stupni. To máš zavčas. A že čo dieme? Ja rýchlo, poďme po kusok. Chorváti, Slovenci, Poliaci, stíhame. Jano, uvádzame, už ho máme hore. David, hore jeden pohár, když hore, zostaň hore. Tak úplne hotoví ľudia zježeli, že toto čo je, hovorím. Krásny, trošku maličko prehodneme ten krok, tak viem, mám tam musíme limiter, že to sa
Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. We're in Slovakia, just outside the country's capital of Bratislava. It's the time for the second sprint of this weekend. Slovakia Ring near Orechová Potoň, 5.9-kilometer racetrack, and we're about to conclude the penultimate weekend of the 2023 campaign here in Slovakia with the Slovakian Grand Prix. And you just see the map of the track. It's one of the longer ones on the calendar. It's rather fast at places, but also tight and twisty stuff in the middle. And we have got again a numerous grid waiting for us here at the start. 32 cars currently on the grid, and we saw what that did yesterday to the first GT sprint and also to the endurance race. It was all very interesting, lots of classes, but lots to play for still. And one of the most exciting classes definitely currently right now on the camera, the GTC Lambos again sitting at the top of the standings and of the grid. And yesterday it was an interesting fight between the Michanek Motorsport duo. Joachim Galáš had the measure of his teammate Matěj Pavlíček in quali, but then Matěj Pavlíček slid through and into the race lead, which he never let go of. Joachim Galáš was getting ready for an attack on the last lap, but made a mistake on the final corner of the previous lap, lost touch, and then was never able to challenge again. This time, the situation is even more different than it was yesterday, because Denis Vašek on brand new tyres in qualifying set a blistering pace and actually topped both of the cars in the GTC class to be actually ahead of both of the Michanek Motorsport juniors. What is going to happen in that class, we're about to see. But of course, we have got the local hero Miro Konopka on pole position this time out, as he beat yesterday's winner and yesterday's pole sitter Dan Skočtopole. Dan Skočtopole and his team really had a lot to do overnight, because the car that actually was leading most of the endurance race had a puncture in the final minute of the race, having lost the lead in a contact with Miro Konopka, and then actually had a puncture in the dying moments of the race. And as a result, as the shredding tire was sort of flailing around quite a lot, it took a lot of bodywork with itself in the process, and that meant quite an extensive damage to the front. The team did have some spares, some not, so they had to improvise a little bit, but they still managed to get the car ready for today's GT sprint, and they have the prototype, the Ligier LMP3, sat on the front row. Behind them, it is this time Christian Kořeňovský with the Olymp Racing's prepared Ferrari 488 on pole position. There it is, and alongside him, it is another car from the local team ARC Bratislava. Zdeno Mikuláško, yesterday's GT sprint winner in the GT3 class. He is sitting on the other side of the front row this time out when it comes to the GT3 cars. Overall, it's of course the second row of the grid. Behind them, Jesse Krohn, the 24-hour Daytona winner. It's the winner of the 24-hour Daytona race. Very famous race, one of the biggest races, definitely the biggest race in America when it comes to GTs. And Jesse Krohn, he did the endurance race yesterday actually himself, and scored a victory in the GT3 class. What is he going to be able to do with the GT sprint, we're about to see. Alongside him, Libor Milota, last year's ESET Cup GT sprint champion. He also will want to have his say in the entire mix, so we're about to see another wonderful fight for the GT3 victory. But we are missing Filip Salaquarda, and that is of course a very high profile, let's say someone who's missing from the grid. Filip Salaquarda had to retire in the opening stages of yesterday's endurance race for a faulty sensor, and the team were in communication with Audi late into the evening. However, it seems that they were unable to find the fix and the solution. The car itself is actually rather fine, but it is simply not moving right now, which means that it is not possible to use it for the second GT sprint. And that, of course, means a dent into the championship lead for Filip Salaquarda, who was unbeatable by this round. He only lost to Max Verhagen earlier on in the season in the opening GT sprint back in Germany back in April. But since then, he'd won absolutely everything, apart from yesterday's sprint, which was then won by Zdeno Mikuláško, and today we will not see Filip Salaquarda on the track. We have got Nicolas Leutwiller in 7th place, and alongside him the GTC class pole sitter Denis Vašek, behind him Michanek Motorsport duo Joachim Galaš, Matěj Pavlíček, Piotr Vera in 11th in his Goodspeed Racing's GT3 Mercedes, Jacek Zielonka P12, he was disqualified from yesterday's endurance race together with his teammate Jakub Litvin. They had issues with communication and also generally with the car, so they were entirely focused on the car itself and accidentally completely missed these signals from the marshals that were telling them about the penalty for overtaking under the safety car conditions, and as a result of ignoring that penalty, of course, they were shown the black flag eventually. Either way, for today, it's well, the main target is to have the car working properly so that they can enjoy their race to the fullest. Behind Jacek Zielonka, it is Tomáš Miniberger at the wheel of the KTM GTX. Of course, as well there, bad luck yesterday in the endurance. The car retired with overheating engine. Franz Lamer in P14, Petr Berecka 15th from Petr Kačírek. That's row number 8 behind them. Jakub Klobasa in his Lamborghini Huracan. He had to retire it 2 weeks back in Most because of an issue with the gearbox. But yesterday they actually made up for it together with Denis Vašek, having scored a victory in the GTC class. They were already leading, but they may have come under pressure from, maybe would have come under pressure from Michanek Motorsports duo of Kurt Wagner and Josef Záruba. However, the car ended up in the gravel before it even reached the pit stop. We've got Jan Antoševský behind, then Maťo Homola, Libor Dvořáček, Mariusz Nerychlevský, Franjo Dubreta, Antel Žigo, Richard Vošic, Zoran Kastrotovič, Matěj Košič, Piotr Podoba, Nikola Radnič, Amuno Pelete, Grega Šimunovič, Artur Rovinsky and Viktor Mraz. 32 cars currently on the grid. And just as the pace car is going to return back into the pit lane, with Lubo Jakubík at the wheel, we have got the leading prototypes at the front. So it's going all Le Mans. We are going to have a rolling start here, and we're just now waiting for the lights to go green. And they are going green. The race is underway, and you immediately see the GT3 cars actually taking the lead in the race, and it is Christian Kořeňovský in Olymp Racing's Ferrari 488 leading into the first corner. But look at that, that's one of the Michanek Motorsports Lambos already up somewhere in 4th. What a start by one of the Michanek Motorsports juniors. We're going to have to try and see which one that is, but it may have been Joachim Galaš from that side of the grid, but it is now back Dan Skočdopole back in the lead in his Ligier from Olymp Racing's Ferrari, with Christian Kořeňovský at the wheel, Zdeno Mikuláško in 3rd overall, and behind we have got that Michanek Motorsports Lamborghini. Is it the car number 66 or 11? We need to see that to, of course, know who that is. I'm really guessing Joachim Galaš, as he was the one starting from the inside line, and it's actually Matěj Pavlíček up through. Wonderful start by Matěj Pavlíček. Unbelievable stuff, and he's now in the fight together with the GT3s. There is Jesse Krohn in the BMW M4 prepared by Trevor Racing, and also Libor Milota, who dropped behind slightly at the start. And we have got also Nicolas Leutwiller there in the black and green Porsche 911. So what a rocket start by Matěj Pavlíček, who not only took the lead in the GTC class, but got as high as P4 at the start in the opening corner. Wonderful, wonderful start by the Czech driver. Libor Milota coming through now. Matěj Pavlíček knows that this is not exactly his fight, so he doesn't really need to lose much time with the GT3 cars. For him, it's the most important that he's got both of his main rivals, and that means Denis Vašek and Joachim Galaš way further back. So car number 66 with a rocket start into today's sprint. Matěj Pavlíček therefore leading. He's now coming under pressure from Nicolas Leutwiller. How about the prototypes? They're coming through. Miro Konopka fell down to P4. And he is now up to 3rd. Now he's trying to get ahead of his teammates. Then on Mikuláško, there they are. So now he's up to third. Miro Konopka ahead of the car that he drove 2 weeks ago in Most. And it's Zdeno Mikuláško falling to fourth overall, but still holding on to second in the GT3 class. Behind him, Jesse Krohn with that Trevor Racing's M4 BMW. Beautiful stuff on the opening lap of the race. Miro Konopka is coming through now as he lost the lead at the start of the race. Miro is usually rather slow at the start, but then climbs back towards the top. So let's see if he can take a fight to Dan Skočtopole, just like he did in yesterday's endurance race. Meanwhile, Skočtopole leading from Kristian Kořeňovský. So Skočtopole leading, Kořeňovský second. Then it's already Miro Konopka in third, with Zdeno Mikuláško falling down to fourth. That of course will get updated as we cross the line right now. And Kořeňovský now has the Olymp Racing's Ferrari set as his target. And there's the race leader, Dan Skočtopole, with the car put back together after yesterday's unfortunate turn of events. Then it's Milota up into sixth, behind Jesse Krohn. And Leutwiller up to seventh now. Pavlíček falling down to eighth from fourth, but crucially he's still holding that GTC lead. And there they are all together now. Denis Vašek following him, but of course having full rear view mirrors of the other Michanek Motorsport Lamborghini. That of course is Joachim Galáš. And now he's lining up for a move, at least having a look, but he's a little bit too far behind. It was really bad luck last time out in Most when the alternator let go, and Joachim Galáš, just as he took the lead in the race, he had to retire. So lost a great haul of points. He already had a great lead in the GTC class, but that has come undone. And yesterday he won the qualifying, but then could not really hold on to that first place. He lost to his teammate Matěj Pavlíček. He was lining up for a move and getting everything ready. But then a mistake came on the final corner of the penultimate lap. Joachim Galáš lost touch with Pavlíček and then was unable to attack again. Right now we have got the GTC fight here, with all of the three cars nicely put together. They are now driving within 1 second, the whole trio. So this is definitely going to be the exciting one to watch. But what Matěj Pavlíček did at the start, I still cannot understand. He was so fast, and he just found some magical space somewhere, like a magical shortcut through the main straight. But now he's coming under pressure from Denis Vašek. Denis Vašek slipstreaming past Pavlíček. There they are coming into the first corner. Is he gonna have a look? No. There is Konopka already getting close to Olymp Racing's Kořeňovský. Kořeňovský staying ahead. But Konopka is not going to take that long. But that fight in the GTC class is really hotting up now, coming to third corner. And they are now starting to fight. Joachim Galáš is now on the move. Miro Konopka now taking the second off the hands of Kořeňovský. And let's go back to the GTC fight among the Lambos, because we already saw Joachim Galáš going for a move. So is he somewhere ahead of Vasek or not? There they are, and Joachim Galaš is already ahead of Vasek. So it's now Pavlíček, Galaš and Vasek. And Denis, he had the lead at the start or on the grid. But now look at Joachim Galaš. He's so fast and he wants to use that speed to his advantage. There are no further GT3s between him and his main target. And that is Matěj Pavlíček holding that GTC class lead. And now they are coming alongside one another, exiting the final corner. Matěj Pavlíček still had a better momentum. He's going to stay glued to the inside line. Joachim Galaš trying to find his way past. He's trying to sell him a dummy, and now he's diving down the inside into the first corner. They are fighting one another side by side. It's so close between Michanek Motorsport guys. Matěj Pavlíček somehow staying ahead for now. He still holds on to that cleaner racing line, and therefore the key momentum, that speed through the corners, is still rather on his side. But Galaš pouncing left and right in every corner now, and he's lining up for another one. Matěj Pavlíček failed to close that one, and Galaš is now through down the inside. Matěj Pavlíček Joachim Galaš retakes the lead in the GTC class. Joachim Galaš leading the GTC class in the GT sprint from Matěj Pavlíček and Denis Vasek. So Galaš is now through. What is he going to be able to do with that in the remainder of the race? We're only about finishing the first 10 minutes of it, so still not even at the halfway mark. And let's not forget that it is really incredibly hot, even hotter than yesterday, 32 degrees right now. And with that, the tires are going to go through some serious suffering through the entire race. And who is going to come out on top? We're just gonna have to wait and see. Denis Vasek getting also closer to Pavlíček. And this is Libor Milota's team, the GT2 Motorsport, or rather Mirage Motorsport at this side of the garage. So there we are, Denis Vasek slipstreaming behind Matěj Pavlíček. Joachim Galaš already trying to go away with it. There is Libor Milota, followed by Nicolas Leutwiller. Milota currently 6th overall, and of course 4th in the GT3 class, so just behind the podium positions. When it comes to GT3, it's Kořeňovský leading from Mikuláško and Jesse Kron. Libor Milota P6 overall, P4 in the class. And we still have Dan Skočdopole at the head of the race with already more than 11 seconds to his name. Miro Konopka following him in second and currently lapping similarly at a similar level with Skočdopole, so not really closing in but not really letting him run away further still. Behind Leutwiller we've got the GTC guys, Galaš, Pavlíček, Vasek, Piotr Vera 11th from Jacek Zielonka, Franz Lámer, Petr Brecka 13th and 14th from Tomáš Miniberger, Jakub Klobása, Mariusz Nierychlewski, Antal Žigo, Maťo Homola and Jan Antoševský in P20. There is one of the I-30s, the TCR cars. This could be Viktor Mraz. And we've already lost Well, we've lost Libor Dvořáček courtesy of him not even starting the race. He was actually displayed on the live timing. I really thought that I didn't see the third Mechanik Motorsport Lambos leaving the garage right at the start of the race or before the race, but still the live timing kept him on. Now it is clear that Libor Dvořáček did not start the race. So we've just got into the second half of the GT sprint here in Slovakia. Now getting past Petr Kačírek in his R8 Audi, the only R8 Audi on track today. And there's the race leader, Dan Skočtopole, victorious yesterday in the sprint. But then retired in the last moments of the endurance race. Car number 70, another of the local legends, Maťo Homola. Freshly crowned Eastern European TCR champion 2 weeks back in Most. He did enough to cement his position at the head of the standings, even with 1 weekend to spare. They are still coming, Janík Motorsport, they are still coming to Brno in 3 weeks' time. This time, of course, Maťo Homola not together with Janík Motorsport, but it is watching Miro Konopka coming through and overtaking some of the back markers. So Maťo Homola this time in the hands of BRP Motorsport, working together with Viktor Mraz. And would you just look at that, with 9 minutes left on the clock, we still have a pretty heated battle for second in the GTC class. Now Matěj Pavlíček making a mistake in that left-hander, being rather wider than he wanted to be. And he left the door wide open. Fortunately for him, Denis Vašek was not close enough, but still, he's getting closer and closer. Now through the slow speed stuff, different racing lines. Matěj Pavlíček taking rather more of a V-shaped line through the slower corners. Denis Vašek is rather more copying the inside line or inside shape of the curb, so making the sort of U shape of the turn. It's a little bit different than through this higher speed stuff, which is the last right-hander, a little wider exit from Vašek. They are still close to one another as they come across the line right now, still under 1 second from one another. Even less than half a second. 4-6. That's the gap between the two Lambos. Skočtopole already leading by more than 1/4 of a minute from Konopka. He's also the one who set the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:57.2 now. Both of the Le Mans prototypes are rather far away from that pace as they are lapping in 159s. Lower for Skočtopol, a little higher for Konopka. There is Zdeno Mikuláško, and this is the fight for the GT3 lead, for the second place in the GT3 class, because the leader is of course still Kristian Kořeňovský in his 488 Ferrari. On the return of Olymp Racing to the series this year. Zdeno Mikuláško under pressure from Jesse Krohn. There they are coming across the line with 6.5 minutes left on the clock, and Jesse Krohn flashing his headlights. Not that Mikuláško has to let him by, but he's just trying everything he can, simply to unnerve his rival. Just let him know, I am here. I am breathing down your neck. In the meantime, Galaš opening up nearly a nearly 6-second lead over Pavlíček in the GTC class. Vašek still close behind Pavlíček in the fight for second. So fights for second, that's now the theme of the GT3 and GTC classes. And there is Libor Milota. He's just past one of the back markers. That's the Lemma Racing's GT4 Mercedes. And Denis Vašek now lining up for a move. He's trying to find some space down the inside, but they're also having to be careful because they've got one of these slower Cupras on the outside. And look how close Denis Vašek is. He still has everything to play for in this race. 5 minutes left. And this is still undecided. Galaš has already driven in front of our camera. He's got a couple of seconds of a lead in the GTC category. Whoa. And Matěj Pavlíček deliberately driving across the curb to really throw some dust in the face of Denis Vašek, just to make it slightly more difficult for the GT2 Motorsports driver. It's Franjo Dubreta in his current Cupra being lapped. And everyone watching with high tension in this race. The stakes are high here and there in the field. Matěj Pavlíček still trying to hold on to that second place. Galaš now 6.3 ahead. Konopka trailing Skočtopole by more than 18 seconds. Then you've got Kořeňovský, Mikuláško 5 seconds behind, with Jesse Krohn still under half a second behind him. So that fight is also raging on in this race. But what is going to happen here? Denis Vašek, very close indeed. But they had the Lada on the inside, could not really go for a move as aggressively as he maybe would have hoped for. But they are still really close to one another. And now Denis Vašek trying to make a move through the S's. Not the usual place. Not your usual place for an overtaking attempt, but Denis Vašek tried something anyway. he's got that slightly older evolution of the Huracan Lambo than Mechanic Motorsport drivers, and also, for example, Jakub Klobasa. Pavlíček already having to go defensive. He was covering the inside line, braking from the middle of the track, still sliding quite a lot. That car does not look particularly happy in the slow speed corners. It sort of looks like tripping over itself, bouncing left and right, maybe even diagonally. Ooh, Piotr Vera in trouble. That's the middle sector. It's a very quick left-hander, and Piotr Vera can actually be happy that he's not crashed it into the wall, because they're really not that far away in that section. But his Mercedes is fine. He came to Slovakia on the back of rather a huge crash at the Red Bull Ring in rain. Then he skipped the round at Most 2 weeks back, but now he is again together with us in the field. And currently he's been unlucky in the sprint as he's just spun his Mercedes. We've got yellow flags. We have got, now it's a full course yellow. And I even see boards, is that going to be a safety car at the very end of the race, which would then anticlimactically end anybody's chances to launch an attack. Of course, for everyone trying to defend their position, this is a gift from heaven, because it's the last minute of the race, and if we have a safety car, which we do, it's now on the track, and correctly so, because Piotr Vera seems to be unable to go away from that spot. Now the safety car is together with Dan Skočdopole. We've had 5 races, including this one. This is the first safety car we see on the track, and it comes in the last minute of racing action here in Slovakia, which is then going to conserve the order for the rest of the day. And that means that whatever is valid right now will remain valid, unless, of course, there is a penalty or a protest of some sort after the race. I do not see a reason for anyone. We have got actually a 15-second penalty. A 15-second penalty for car number 3. Oh ho ho! And this is the key thing now for the race victory, because Dan Skočdopole, he was leading by more than 18 seconds, and he's got a 15-second penalty for jumping the start, which means that his 18-second lead would have still keep him the victory. But now with the safety car out, all of that gap evaporates in the matter of seconds, and he is going to be robbed of this victory. Unbelievable stuff. So just courtesy of the safety car coming out on track, Dan Skočdopole is going to lose the race lead and thus the victory, which means that Miro Konopka, having won the endurance race yesterday, is going to be the winner of the sprint on Sunday. Unbelievable turn of events. Kristian Kořeňovský is going to come victorious in the GT3 class. Zdeno Mikuláško will then hold on to his second place from Jesse Krohn, who was really close for the past laps, but never really came with anything. But still, Zdeno Mikuláško had to fight for it quite hard, but now he is going to be handed the second place. Well, let's say Jesse Krohn is going to lose all of the chances to snatch it from the local driver. Libor Milota, P6, Nicolas Leutwiller, P7, and 5th in the GT3 class, Joachim Galaš. He had bad luck in Most. So Joachim Galaš unlucky in Most, but this time luck is on his side. Yes, he had to fight for it, and he really took the lead on merit. He didn't have as great a start as his teammate Matěj Pavlíček, but he patiently soldiered on, got back right behind the back of his teammate, and then overtook him on the track, which is, of course, the way to get to the race win that you enjoy the most. but now in the closing stages, safety car is just going to confirm his position. Safety car is going to come back into the pits only for us to have a beautiful finish of this race. There we are, coming across the line under the checkered flag, so the race is done. Dan Skočdopole taking the victory on the road, but he will be robbed of that victory as Miro Konopka is across the line. They did have some back markers in between themselves, which didn't really help Miro Konopka, but still he's across the line, only just under 5 seconds behind Skočdopole, and that is going to hand the victory to Miro Konopka. And even further still, Dan Skočdopole is going to fall through the field. So actually, Dan Skočdopole is going to fall to P5 overall. He's going to be 5th overall when the 15-second penalty gets applied. So Konopka is going to be the winner on his home soil on Sunday. Kristian Kořeňovský victorious in the GT3 class from Zdeno Mikuláško and Jesse Krohn. Libor Milota then P6 overall from Nicolas Leutwiller. Joachim Galáš taking that desired victory finally and putting his campaign back on the right track. I believe he lost all the lead by this point, and if my maths are right, they were level on points with Matěj Pavlíček coming into this race, but they are not anymore because Joachim Galáš takes another victory of the season, and that means that he will go to the season finale in Brno as the championship leader. Matěj Pavlíček second in the GTC class from Denis Vašek in 3rd and 10th overall. Jacek Zielonka 11th from Jakub Klobása, Franz Lámer, Tomáš Miniberger, Petr Brecka, Mariusz Nerychlevský, Maťo Homola, Antal Žigo, Jan Antoševský and Petr Kačírek in P20. Behind them Matěj Košič, Zoran Kastratovič, Franjo Dubreta, Amuno Pelete, Piotr Podoba, Grega Šimunovič, Nikola Radnič, Artur Rovinsky, Viktor Mráz and Piotr Vera classified as 30th. We have lost Richard Vosic and Libor Dvořáček did not take the start. So that's it for the Slovakian round. It's been hot, but it's been eventful and very interesting, very thrilling, very exciting. And on to the final one we go, because there is still one round to contest in the 2023 ESET Cup Series, where all the classes will meet back together. We will be back together again with, for example, the Eastern European TCR, and that, of course, on the 9th and 10th of September in the Czech Republic at the Masaryk Racing Circuit in Brno for the traditional season finale in the Czech Republic. And as everyone is now heading back into the pits, we will top off the program for the penultimate round of this year's championship. The cars are getting back into the pits and, of course, into the Parc Fermé. The results, of course, as usual, being provisional until all the scrutineering is done. But Miro Konopka victorious on his home soil, courtesy of the penalty for jumping the start for Dan Skočdopole. Kristian Kořeňovský taking the win in the GT3 class. Joachim Galáš victorious in the GTC. And to complete the overview, Antal Žigo, the leading GT4. Tomáš Miniberger taking victory in the GTX class. Maťo Homola in the TC class. And then Zoran Kastratovic in Division 6. Grega Šimunovic Division 7. And Jan Antoševský taking a victory in the TC 3500 class for this day. So, it's been an incredibly hot weekend, of course. But hats off to everyone who attended the race. Thank you so much if you were watching from the grandstands. Thank you so much if you're watching together with us on the live stream. And we will be so happy to meet back again in 3 weeks' time in the Czech Republic, in Brno, when the paddock will reconvene once again and finally for the 2023 season. So with the graphic results now displayed from me, Pavel Fabry, it is going to be a very warm and indeed very hot goodbye. Charnock Motorsport Juniors. What is going to happen in that class?